So, yeah, my hair is kind of weird today, but it does that. Anyway, I created another channel, which is funny because not many, I guess, know that I have more than one to begin with. So, like, this would be like my main one, but then I also had one that was under my legal name that, had a couple hundred subscribers at one point, not as one. So, I've got some videos on there with like hundreds of views on them. But no, this one but I don't know, it was never my main channel though, because, I'm very uneasy about having anything associated with my legal name online. And it's specifically because I got doxxed, before even having this account at all. The old account, Dark Lady in the Moon, was a fabulous example of that. So, yeah. So now I have a new channel, and I'm basically just singing in the dark on it. Because, I don't want to... Mostly I'm planning on doing like one a week for other people's songs. Not really my own, just songs I've practiced. Or just have sung a lot. I think I just did, for the first one I did, hello darkness, my old friend. The Sound of Silence. So, I don't know. Maybe next week I'll do one from the Platters or something. I don't know. I actually like a lot of their stuff, believe it or not. Despite the fact that my grandparents were absolutely dead set on getting me into it as a teenager. At least my grandfather was. Not really sure why. It was never really my style. There was never really a lot of... I don't know, they didn't really put a lot of emotion into a lot of their songs. It was just kind of words to sing. And I don't really like listening to people who only put words to sing. Pretty much. It took me a few takes to get it though, because I can't edit it, and you don't really want to edit that sort of thing anyway. So yeah. There were a couple times that I would stumble up for myself and say the wrong word in the song, and it's normal stuff, I guess. People do that stuff all the time, even if you know a song super well. It's actually a song that I happen to like. The Sound of Silence speaks to me a lot too, on a deep level. So that's why I picked it. I'm thinking I'll either do Linkin Park in the end, or The Great Pretender by the Platters next week. I'm not sure. I'm really just not sure. Chris is doing schoolwork right now. He's most of the way through it. It's not even... It's only like 10 o'clock. And he only started at like 9:30. So, yeah, he's most of the way through it. He hasn't really dicked around as much as he sometimes does, so, when you're not dragging your ass, it's actually not a lot. It's, a handful of worksheets, maybe an explanation that goes with it if he needs one beyond what's written there, but he's pretty quick on the uptake, so sometimes that's all he needs. Just some sort of material with information. Now, the thing that we have run into is the social studies book that we got from him is really not even being subtle. They are high-key pushing the social justice agenda and the idea that diversity is necessary, and I'm like, and is inherently better, and I'm just like, it's really not. Diversity of ideas is important, but diversity as this ambiguous thing is not. And being different doesn't necessarily make people better. So we had to go into a lesson about difference. How sometimes different is just different. Not really better. Not really negative or positive, just different. And you know what we did? We asked Chris, does having a different skin color make someone better? No. Does it make you better that they have a different skin color? No. Well, sometimes different is just different. Doesn't, like, we actually had to have this lesson because the tone of diversity is being pushed so heavily, even in kid stuff. And there's some of this stuff goes into like that, and they misquote like Thomas Jefferson and shit. Like they're paraphrasing, but they're twisting it. They're twisting previous paraphrases to give it a meaning it doesn't have. And you really have to get on this stuff whenever you're homeschooling, because they're really pushing the social justice shit into this. They want and Tim was overhearing this, and he was like, Thomas Jefferson also said, after I was telling him what he actually said, that we should have a revolution every 20 to 30 years to redo the government. And Chris is like, really? He said that? And I'm like, yeah, he did. He was a man with opinions. And to use something that's twisting, I also pointed out he had slaves. Thomas Jefferson did not inherently believe that all people were equal, obviously, because he didn't treat them that way. We have to remember that. We can't just look at him as some shining social justice example. Social justice is poison, okay? Because it's kind of like how they proved the teaching kids, like, that they have to share actually is unhealthy. Now, teaching them that sharing is good, and that you should share if you within reason is good. But oftentimes people take it too far whenever they're teaching kids to share. They're like, oh my god, you have it, they want it, you should absolutely share it with them. And that's not really right. It should be within reason. Like, you have it, and I don't know, maybe you don't want to share it, and it's yours. And they don't really need it. So, but whenever, there's someone around you and they have need, you should help them. But also, like, we even went into this other thing, like, there's another one where they very clearly are trying to push the idea that you have to help people. And I'm like, Chris, we're in a war in the Middle East and have been, specifically because of two things. One, people wanted oil. And two, people decided that they were going to force a group of people who didn't want to be free to be free. People are free not to be free. It's a revolutionary concept. And now we've got all of these people from this culture where they have like this religious group telling them what to do, and they're trying to bring Sharia law to like America and European countries and whatnot, and they're actually setting up these councils and whatnot. And if people had just left them alone and not tried to force our way of living on them, they wouldn't be doing this right now. There would actually be a lot of war that wouldn't even have happened if we just left them alone. And so, if you've got a group of people that's perfectly happy living the way that they are, well, sometimes you have to leave them alone. Revolutionary concept, right? Leave them alone. Anyway, before I even went into that, I asked him.
He finally went down. Which social studies page in here does he need to do?
The next one. He needs to do the...
Because I know you've been looking through it and seeing which ones
No,
he should do.
I already looked through it. The next one doesn't have anything nefarious in it.
Okay.
It's just about reading maps.
Okay.
He needs to do this one.
Okay.
So, we actually had to start going through them because, these things were coming up and they were ambiguous in general and didn't really explain anything either. They weren't really at all factual. They didn't really outline it as any sort of system of belief or thought process. It was just these really ambiguous things that were kind of left open to interpretation, and you don't throw that at third graders. you just shouldn't throw that at third graders. Not to be the wet blanket or anything, but third graders, while they can be incredibly intelligent, they're not quite at the point developmentally. And all you're doing is telling them this is right because feelings. And you're teaching them how to think, well, because I want this to be true, it must be. And that's not really the way that it works. You need an actual factual thing. And this is civics. And I've looked through here and I'm like, they haven't taught anything about how the government works, how it's structured, anything. This is literally just social justice crap. So I actually have to look up, the structure of the government and lessons on structure of the government, because literally this whole thing is just failing. For the most part, these books are pretty good about, giving a pretty good take on certain things. But as far as civics goes, civics is not supposed to be social justice drivel. It's supposed to be, these are the branches of government and stuff like that. It's not supposed to be, oh, well, you're just always be this way. It's kind of like how when we had it, we gave extra, in hopes that it would help somebody else pay for, the karate class that week. But at the same time, whenever we signed them up, we don't put anything in where it said the privilege tax. That's what they called it whenever you gave more. And I was just like, we don't have privilege. I'm tired of seeing this everywhere. If it says privilege, I'm going to ignore it. If we have it, we will share it because that's what decent people are supposed to do. But you cannot shove it down people's throats. It has to be a choice. It can't be something that you try to social engineer into them. It can't be something that you try to guilt them into. I've spent most of my life having less than everyone else. My skin color hasn't magically made that better. What is this? Oh, it just looks weird. It's actually the same thing as... Okay, it's just natural cleavage. It looked weird, okay? I thought that there was a bruise on my boob or something. But no. It's just shadowed really weird. So anyway, that cover up my boobs now. And that's another thing. Lately I've been working on as an artist is to, kind of focus on the little weird things on the body. How one boob, might be a little bit different than the other. Or how cleavage, unless you're shoving your boobs together, doesn't look like a line. It just kind of looks like this is where the flesh bags connect. I've just kind of been trying not to be up in the middle of the night crying and worrying about my kids. It fails miserably, but I try. Trying is really all you can do sometimes. Sometimes all I'm trying to do is just cope with some of the stuff. But Chris is doing well. The only thing is that this week we didn't go to karate, and that was specifically because up until the time it was, past time to go, he was throwing a fit because he didn't want to do something. He was dragging his feet, and I was just like, we're not going. Behave better, and maybe we'll go next week, And, the sensei never did get back to me on how much it cost to do the extra hour to make up for it. I guess we'll just take enough to pay for 2 classes, and that's enough. Because he has to do makeup. Otherwise, he won't be able to test out of the belt that he's in. So, there's that. Anyway, I'm gonna end this here. Because I can just feel it in my bones. Yeah. No, not really in my bones. More just a memorization of patterns and behaviors that I'm not going to have much longer. I've got maybe 5 minutes left before somebody bursts through that door and says, "Mom, look, I did it." Because, I do this every morning. So I've got the clockwork down. On the days that he's not dragging his ass, trying not to do it because school is icky. I don't really know where he gets that, because when he's not doing that, he's like, "Oh yeah, this is so much fun." And then, and you know what? Some mornings, it's a really involved lesson, and some mornings, it's just a few worksheets. And, sometimes that's good. Right now, his dad's out there with him, so I can be in here. Sometimes lessons need to be more involved, but also, social justice should not be in a 3rd grade workbook. It shouldn't be in something that is meant to help homeschoolers. It shouldn't even be close to involved. And, it's honestly really concerning that it is.